All right, so today I wanted to go a bit more into Sony's, I'm going to say, cross-gen missteps. And this really exploded online over this past week after Sony kind of revealed the idea of buying a certain version of Horizon Forbidden West to ensure that you have access to the PS4 and the PS5 version of the game. It's in stark contrast to what Microsoft is doing on their end with smart delivery. And a lot of people are saying, oh, this is arrogant Sony at their finest, right? This is Sony back when they were going from the PS2 to the PS3, and they said, hey, if you can't afford the PS3, make sure you get a second job so you can buy that $600 system. Now, I think what we're looking at here is a little bit of arrogance, Sony, because all of these companies have a little bit of arrogance thrown into like their entire strategy. No, I think this is more confused Sony, because they're trying to navigate this whole thing with cross-gen, something they've never had to navigate before, and I think they're having a hard time with it, and we're going to go over that here today. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. If you're new here to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. So first, let's go over here to their PlayStation blog page where they did go over the different editions that you would buy for Horizon Forbidden West. And the moment I knew this was a problem is when people started to draw up charts as to which version you wanted to buy depending on the system, because that's something we got with Anthem or FIFA or like some of these EA titles where they have this dual entitlement, which, yeah, is a word that Sony uses here. And the last time I remember that being used was with FIFA, like at the end of last year, and I'm sure it'll come up again here soon. Dual entitlement, I just don't think goes over very well in PR land to tell people that. That's why Microsoft came up with smart delivery. One, it's just, I mean, it's just much better. Like, it is. We made fun of smart delivery. I think everyone did, because it was like, yeah, obviously I buy the game and it works on both systems. Great. I guess we needed a marketing term for that. But like, now we're looking at that and thinking, wow, maybe smart delivery is a bit more than a slogan. Anyway, we have two different standard editions, one for the PS4 at $60, one for the PS5 at $70. But if you're someone who has a PS4 now and maybe is planning to get a PS5 in the future, maybe you think in the holidays, but you don't get it, and you're like, okay, maybe after Horizon, you're going to want to get this version, the Digital Deluxe Edition at $80. Sony has effectively figured out how to charge $80 now for a game rather than $70. There was already a point of contention going from 60 to 70. Look, it was going to happen someday. I don't believe that games were just going to stay at $60 for the rest of our lives. And Sony said, you know what? We're doing it now. We're doing it this generation, because this generation will probably last, 6-7 years or something like that. And that'll put us in, what, 2026 or 2027. Do we think it's going to be $60 in 2027? Probably not. And trying to do this mid-gen would have been a whole weird thing. I expect Nintendo to follow suit to $70 with their next generation, and Microsoft will continue moving towards this subscription service, and they don't even care probably what the games cost at that time anyway. But yes, we have this edition, then we have like collector's edition. There's a special edition you can buy here. It's a full game of choice of either PS4 or PS5 disc edition. Basically, they want you to buy the digital edition that's only available on the PlayStation Store. That's very important, by the way. Only available on the PlayStation Store for these different, the version that gets you both, the dual entitlement. They get more money from that anyway, rather than have to package and ship it to different stores where they see less money. They'll get that full $80. So from that perspective, for them, it makes sense rather than try to ship and go through all the logistics there. Their margin ends up being much, much less for you buying one or the other through stores rather than just $80 through their digital storefront. They also have these collector's edition, which you don't get the disc. I don't get it. It's still weird to me that you get a steelbook, this big statue. Like, you've already committed to getting a bunch of stuff. Like, a disc, to me, is the least you can get out of a collector's edition like this. Now, when I looked at this, I said, wow, that's way more work than it should be from the consumer end, because, I mean, let's face it, the obvious thing here, the obvious course of action is, look, Sony raised it to $70. If you buy the $6 PS4 version, somewhere in that menu on Horizon Forbidden West, it's like upgrade to PS5, right? So, or in the store for PlayStation, or something like that, where you pay the extra $10 and then you get to download the PS5 version to your new PS5 that you just bought. Instead, if you were to buy the PS4 version at $60, you would then have to buy the PS5 version at $70, effectively spending $130, which means that most people who are planning to get the PS5 later on will just opt to get the $80 digital deluxe version for no reason other than insurance. Basically, Sony has figured out a way to tack on $10 insurance for the PS5 version of the game, or $20 insurance to the PS4 copy. You know, I will say I was surprised online, because I actually saw a lot of people push back on this, and it's good to see that, because generally I feel like most people out there right now who are backing one system or the other back it no matter what, even if that means you got to spend more money on the thing. It's weird to me, because these are companies that are worth billions and billions of dollars, in Microsoft's case, trillion, whatever. These aren't companies, to me, that are trying to sell a system that need to look at this and say, okay, Horizon Forbidden West, how do we get 80 for it? It's like, wow, it's odd to me, because Sony put themselves in this position. If they had done a clean break and Horizon Forbidden West was only on the PS5, it's $70, and that's that. I feel like most people would have just been like, yeah, all right, that makes sense to me. Instead, it's this whole thing where even if you spend money on the PS5 version, you can't go backwards to the PS4. That's the part that's the weirdest to me, because if that were the case, then it's like, look, you can either buy the PS4 or the PS5 version. If you buy the PS5 version, it'll still work on the PS4. We're just trying to transition you to the PS5 as fast as possible. And yeah, maybe even sell you a $70 game before you get the PS5, but it'll at least work on your PlayStation 4. No, instead we have this whole thing where you got to buy an $80 version of the game. And like I said, I was happy to see a lot of people push back online, because you know what? These companies do listen. Like, we've already seen Sony backtrack on something like shutting down the Vita store and like the PS3 store. And yeah, there was some backlash online, but generally I have to assume that it wasn't a ton of people like that Sony was looking at and like willing to shut the store down in the first place. So something like this that's going into a generation where Sony does not want to always look like the bad guy, now is a good time to kind of draw that line and say, look, you're doing stuff now to push these games up to 80 already. Let's dial it back a bit here. Oh, and speaking of PR going into this generation, Jim Ryan's having a tough time. Like, people look at him as the bad guy at Sony right now. And I mean, when you see stuff like this, it's tough. Like, it's tough because a lot of this stuff is just being backpedaled on constantly to start this generation for the PlayStation 5 and Sony. Whether it's Gran Turismo 7 having the whole thing on the trailer, it said PlayStation 5 exclusive, and then it's like, it's kind of going to the PS4 also. And then there was a lot of I guess, implied PS5 exclusivity around Horizon Forbidden West and God of War. Well, then eventually they broke the news to us that it was also going to the PS4. But people pointed something out here, because if we go over this paragraph, additionally, we know that the PS4 community will transition to PS5 at different times, and we're happy to announce PS4 versions of some of our exclusives. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Horizon Forbidden West will also launch on PS4. While these three games were designed to take advantage of PS5 and its unique next-gen features like the ultra high-speed SSD and DualSense controller, PS4 owners will also be able to enjoy these experiences when they launch. The PS4 digital versions of launch games include a free upgrade on both PS5 consoles, while the PS4 disc versions of these games include a free upgrade on the PS5 with Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive. All right. So the obvious thing here, and it is like, I mean, we are going down to like single words in this paragraph that is apparently bailing Sony out. Although, wow, this is, it doesn't look good based on what we're seeing here. And we go back and it says Horizon Forbidden West, obviously being mentioned right here, also launched on the PS4. While these three games were designed to take advantage of PS5 and all of this, says they'll be able to enjoy these experiences when they launch. And then they go on to say the PS4 digital versions of launch games. That is like the one thing that people are saying bails them out of this. But like, I mean, Horizon is right next to it. Horizon Forbidden West. Like, you see what I mean? The way that this is written up, because this isn't an interview, nothing like that. This is essentially their press release that they posted up on their PlayStation blog, where they went over pricing and different launch games that they're going to have ready to go and the $70 price that they're going to move to. Horizon is right there. And it's like, oh, They're going to have, this free upgrade for these PS4 titles going to the PS5. So right there, people have in their mind with Horizon Forbidden West. And then they show us all this pre-order stuff, and there's like the digital deluxe edition at $80 that PS4 owners need to buy if they want to go with PS. It's a mess. It's not a good look, certainly. And that's what I come back to. It feels like Sony is just confused as to how to navigate this whole thing. How do they leave behind the 115 million plus install base on the PS4 when they don't really have to? Previously, going from the PS2 to the PS3 or the PS3 to the PS4, they just did clean breaks. They still had backwards compatibility on the PS3, which was good, but they then just started developing PS3 titles and would still develop some PS2 games, but they wouldn't have like a release come out and it's like a PS2 and PS3 game kind of thing, right? Same with the PS3 and the PS4, and that was more out of necessity because like the PS3 just wasn't going to work on the PS4, so they just did a clean break and moved on from there. But the architecture for the PS4 and the PS5 are like the same. So we see these games work on both. I mean, we have full backwards compatibility for the most part from the PS4 to the PS5. And Sony has gone backwards in what they were saying with things like Gran Turismo because they realize, wow, these games cost a lot of money to make. And unfortunately, they can't really do what Microsoft is doing because Microsoft has the money to where they can just do smart delivery. And if you buy a game on the Xbox One, yeah, sure, it'll be there waiting for you on the Series X whenever you buy that. Or if you just subscribe to Game Pass, it'll just install as you go along for the certain features that you have on maybe your new console that you got at the holiday time. It doesn't really seem to matter for them, whereas Sony seems hyper-focused on how to get an extra $10 out of you for upgrading to the PS5. And the rules just keep changing. And once again, that's generally from a strategy that's not set in stone. And I don't think it is for Sony because we saw what happened with Ghost of Tsushima. The $10 upgrade from PS4 to PS5 was tied into the $20 Iki Island DLC. So that came out to $30 for PS5 owners who had already bought Ghost of Tsushima, making that a $90 purchase overall. And then for Death Stranding, we see that coming up. That's going to be a $10 difference. Like, you just paid the $10. That makes sense. I get that. But then if you go back to the launch titles, those were just, as they say here, they were free, right? You just upgrade. Like that's fine. So I'm not really sure how it's going to work with Gran Turismo because it's going to come up with that. And then God of War, that'll be the interesting one. Will they go back to what they did with, what they're about to do with Death Stranding, or maybe they go back to what they were doing with launch titles, which I don't think they can do because they themselves raised to $70. So there's going to be a $10 difference. Otherwise, everyone's just going to buy the PS4 version, pop it in their PS5, and get the free update. But let me know what you guys think about this whole thing with Sony down below. I think they have made this way more confusing than they need to, way more work for consumers, and the PR right now on their side doesn't look great with that passage that was shown in that PlayStation blog. Like I said, Sony's done a lot of backtracking this entire first year for the PS5, and it just looks like they're not really sure what they're doing. I guess the one fortunate thing for them is their system continues to sell no matter what. So they have that going for them, I guess. But let me know what you guys think about this whole thing down below, with Horizon Forbidden West having an $80 requirement essentially to get the PS4 and the PS5 version. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.